welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm one of your co-hosts. The other is our good co-host and friend, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. Merry Christmas. The first round of the playoffs is over. No more G5 teams in the playoffs anymore. Oh, wait, what? That's what I asked for Christmas, by the way. I asked for no more
G5 teams.
No more G5 teams. Let's see if Santa Claus gives me my present this year.
I think a lot of people would consider you to be a Grinch if you have such a mentality that you don't want the little guy to be a part of the playoff.
I normally don't post things to Facebook, okay? But I just copied the thing I took on Twitter and posted it and put it on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, my God, these people have no idea. A couple of people were like, well, Blake, Texas had 3 losses. And my response to every one of them was, so did Alabama.
Tulane had 2.
Tulane, now they have 3.
Oh, yeah, well, they're done.
Like, no one had an excuse for the 86-20 ass whooping that Ole Miss gave to Tulane over 2 games. And, Joe, I was going back and watching those games this evening, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is I went back and watched the Oregon game, too. This is inevitable, bud. I mean, I almost went back and watched the Tennessee-Ohio State game. By the way, that was a score. It was within a score at halftime. Like, I know that Ohio State wound up blowing them out. It was within a touchdown. And I'm like, at least I had a half. By the way, Nico broke his helmet. Nico had a rushing touchdown in that game. And I'm like,
Dylan Sampson also got hurt in that game, too. That's the other thing that people forget, that they lose one of their best offensive players, that turn that into a blow. There's a lot of revisionist history that happens with this stuff, and it's just annoying. I'm so sick of, and I'm glad that we can like officially turn the page here with this stuff. It's really annoying that those that are defending the G5 are completely disregarding the most important aspect about all this, and they're trying to reframe the argument. They're disregarding the fact that there's a visible difference between a blowout between Tennessee and Ohio State in a game where JMU had 0 chance. And the only way that they got back into the game was when Oregon stopped trying. There was never going to be a legitimate opportunity for them to compete. And I hate that there's this notion you hate college football if you don't want the G5 teams in. Bullshit. I want to watch good football. I want to watch meaningful football. I want to watch games that matter. We got 2 really good games. I don't want to hear anyone saying that the Texas A&M Miami game and the Oklahoma-Alabama game weren't good games. They were intense.
Good games. They were really good games.
People defending the G5 were trying to make it out to be like, all these teams sucked. They were all bad. How did you think that the G5 didn't deserve to be there?
How about this? You can't get blown out 95-40.
Yeah.
Do I have to repeat that? You got blown out yesterday 95-40. Well, listen, the ACC, I mean, maybe, oh, good Lord, maybe their tiebreaker, who knows, but the ACC's got to get with it, and good for Miami for getting a massive win yesterday. And speaking of that, that's what we'll do. We're going to recap these games and give a little bit of a preview for the next round. Texas Tech plays Oregon. Oregon beat JMU. They play in the Orange Bowl. Joe, Indiana takes on Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Georgia, which, by the way, last time Alabama was in the Rose Bowl, Nick Saban's last game. So I'm going to throw something in there when we get to that. Georgia and Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Second time that Georgia's going to the Sugar Bowl. In no shape and way and form is Georgia losing that football game. We'll get to that too. And I'm going to get a little emotional during that one because it'll be a year that some very tragic incidences happen. Ohio State and Miami play in the Cotton Bowl as well, so we'll get all to those. By the way, they play on New Year's Eve. That's the only one on New Year's Eve that we'll get into. So, got lots that we need to discuss. Let's get in right to it here, Joe. And before we do that, though, everyone do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook, it's all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, and wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Every AYS show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. A&M completely blew up my parlay yesterday on FanDuel, so they got $10 from me yesterday. Joe, I upped my ante from $1 to $10, and the first time this year I really was losing. And I'm like, man, that's $10 down the hole. But It's all good. It's all fun with our good friends and partners over at FanDuel. The reason I use FanDuel and we are partnered with them is because they use and give you those preferences. So if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. Gladly partnered and powered by our good friends over at FanDuel. All right, Joe, let's recap some of these games here. Let's start off with Alabama and Oklahoma. I know we already talked about this, but to recap the game again, I thought it was really good, and I'm glad that we're doing this. We responded to the game right after it, and then we get to come back and rewatch it again and go back over it again. When you kind of recap the recap of Alabama and Oklahoma, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my attention was a lot more on Alabama on the rewatch. And I know that, like, after the game, a lot of people thought I had a lot of money on Oklahoma. I did not have any money on Oklahoma because of how pissed off I was at Oklahoma blowing a 17-point lead. It was a disappointing performance by them to not carry that momentum. But where I now want to talk about is what Alabama did successfully. I really think that Ty Simpson stepping up the way that he did in the second half has to be the most important thing that we talk about. We talked about it in that reaction, but as I went back and looked, the throws that he had that were critical for keeping them alive in that game and then also propelling them to the victory, not enough people are really recognizing how much that turned the tide. Ty Simpson looked I didn't even realize I did that. Ty Simpson looked a lot more like the version of him that we saw in October that was making and delivering on a lot of clutch throws. Ty Simpson is the key to Alabama pulling off an upset and beating Indiana in this next round. He is going to get pressured. This offensive line still can't pick up pressure. That was one of the things that I really, really noticed when I was watching the All-22 was that there were untouched guys because they were sliding in the wrong direction. They were not properly identifying where certain guys were coming from. Ty Simpson's going to get pressured. Him being able to remain poised in those situations, which he showed he's capable of again against Oklahoma, will be the biggest piece to them potentially challenging and knocking off Indiana.
To your point, that end zone copy, and every time we've talked about Bama, that's why I keep talking about the interior of that offensive line. The end zone copy, it still's bad. Here's the thing, though. Again, that interior of that offensive line with David Stone and Demonic Williams, I don't know if you see a better 1-2 in the interior moving forward on that side of the bracket, right? I mean, you face off against Oregon, Washington, and Bear Alexander would be a really good comp to that too, that you could potentially face off. But, Joe, I want to start off with here. I got into midway through the second quarter of the rewatch, and it was when Alabama was down 17-0 and they responded. And, the only thing that I could keep thinking to myself is, every offseason we come in here and we talk about culture. Every offseason we come in here and we talk about how this guy's doing X, how this guy's doing Y, and the culture that's being built under a new and I don't want to say a new unexperienced coaching staff, but a new coaching staff that comes into a new team. This being the second year of Kalen DeBoer and you're down 17-0, your back's up against the wall. And so when we come in here and we talk about culture during the offseason and we talk about, does this coach have an X factor? Does that coach have an X factor? What are they building? Who are they as a program under this head coach? Going down 17-0 on the road and scoring 24 unanswered points shows you that Kalen DeBoer at Alabama is building something. Guys, they're in year two. They're in year two. And they're in the playoffs. And they're going to the quarterfinals. Take the logo off. Anybody in the country sees that and says, oh, man, they're really building something here. But it is the 24-0 run. Joe, after Alabama got punched in the mouth, they completely dominated Oklahoma. Get this. After going down 17-0, this is what Oklahoma would do offensively. Punt, pick six. They would try to get a score before the end of half, but time ran out. 3 and out. They did get a touchdown, so good for them. But then they would follow it with a 3 and out, missed field goals. So 8 out of their 9 drives, they got dominated down the stretch. You have a pick six in there, you got 3 and outs in there, and you have a missed field goal. You got one touchdown drive. Oh, by the way, you had to convert 3 for 3 on third down, and that being third and short. I look at the second half and say, man, I feel like I've seen a team do that this year. And I felt like defensively, I saw a game where a team scored a lot of points early, Ole Miss, and all of a sudden something clicked. Georgia. What's the difference here? Now, you can make a lot of, oh, Georgia's better. Understand what I'm trying to say here. But 8 out of 9 possessions to end the game, Oklahoma did squat. So Alabama got punched in the mouth. They had their back up against the wall. Here's the season. And the defense said, and Kane Womack and company said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. 3 3-and-outs, a pick 6, and a missed field goal. They won up and win the game. That is what I talk about. So when we talk about culture, we talk about maturity. We talk about young players learning. That's what I saw in Alabama on Friday night.
This easily was the biggest win of Kalen DeBoer's time as the Alabama head coach. I know that's not exactly a hot take, but when we elaborate on it,
some would say Georgia.
Well, but I would disagree with that. I think that the Georgia wins were significant for establishing yourself as an early key figure with the Alabama program and trying to show your competitiveness.
And this one's in the playoff.
This is what I'm saying. This was the timing of it. You're 0-2 against him. You can't beat him. It's in the playoff. It's after a stretch of games where everybody was saying that you were cooked. Everything was falling apart. You were out of gas. You were leaking like crazy. It just wasn't supposed to be a game that you were supposed to win. Not to mention the fact you go down 17-0 and everybody's clowning on you because you're getting punched in the mouth and you're not responding. And then they did. They bounced back. The last layer with this, all the noise with DeBoer being in the mix for the Michigan job and Michigan desperately wanting him, that's silenced. That's completely silenced. It's gone.
Yeah,
it should be. It should have been over for a while, but now it's even more over because why would he leave? Why would he leave anytime soon? He just won a playoff game in Alabama. He just proved everybody that was frustrated with the results that he was putting out there wrong. Everybody's expecting him to go out there and win these games, and he's finally meeting that expectation. I think winning a game like this, and even if they lose to Indiana, I think it's just so important for, you're talking about culture. Building culture comes from winning games like that. Winning a game where you're down on the road, you rally back, everyone's doubting you. That is something that you can turn to in the future with the current group of guys that are on the team.
Coming out of the game, I'm going to say this, but I got to preface it in a right way here. You can go to the stat log and you can see the stats and you can see the statistics and say, man, Alabama couldn't run the ball at all. God, I look at that second half and say, really? Really? Because Hill had that long 30-yard run. They got multiple runs of 4 or 5 yards apiece. And then when the game was on the line, Hill ran up and got the massive touchdown to end it. So you're right. In the first half, dominated. I'm not saying that they did anything special, but I saw 2 freshmen in Brooks and Hill with all the experience that they got through the regular season under Kalen DeBoer start to figure their own way. And here's the thing, too, when we talk about culture and a new coach getting in here, those are his guys. So he's getting his dudes in here to understanding. And Brooks, I mean, Joe, I don't even know how to really quantify it. Here's what I would say. Ryan Williams has been a complete non-factor. He is a complete non-factor at this point in time. Ryan Williams leads the SEC. He leads the country in drops. And outside of Jeremy Bernard, what teams have been doing is trying to do everything humanly possible to take away Jeremy Bernard. Somebody had to step up. somebody had to come up to the forefront and say enough is enough, and I'm going to take this over. Because, Joe, Ryan Williams this season, we talk about sophomore slumps. I mean, I don't want to – he's very talented. He's very special. He's going to be a great wide receiver. For whatever reason, he's not having a good season. And somebody had to step up because Ty Simpson's been under pressure. And when teams are eliminating Jeremy Bernard, Horton can't get separation in moments and times. It was Brooks that was coming up with the big plays. And then all of a sudden, when Brooks hits those two big plays, things started opening up. The fade route to Horton is the one that I'm talking about. It's going to be intriguing to see how they move forward, but they finally got out of their funk by going to other people that can make plays for them. And so I look at the run game, everybody talking about Jam Miller. Hill looked explosive in the second half when they gave him the 5 touches and he got 35 yards, about 7 yards a carry. That would be the part that I would talk about. That was after the 30-yard run. Just looking at them in the second half, going back and rewatching it, I got to give them a lot of credit because as bad and much as dominated as they got in the, let's just say, a quarter and a half, for the next half, 2.5 quarters, they completely and utterly destroyed Oklahoma up and down the field. They did. I mean, it was an ass whipping. The score is close, but they're coming down from 17. So they're putting up 34 points. They went on a 34-7 run. 34-7 run. A complete ass whooping down the stretch.
One other thing you mentioned, the run game. Look, the run game is still not good. I still think it has issues, but I think that there's something that I think that there's one thing that I'd like to see them do more. It feels like they've stubbornly tried to run the ball up the middle a lot, and it's just
funny
not
what
working.
happened when Hill got to the edge, huh?
Right. They ran a pitch to Hill. He had more space to work, and he's not even supposed to be the fast one of the group. He's a big ass dude. He's like 240-something pounds. He got to the edge, and then he cut back inside and was able to create space for himself because he picked up a head of steam. I think that that's what they need to do. I think that they need to start attacking the edges because they're not going to be able to run up the middle, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that against Indiana. Indiana has a pretty stout front seven with some really good linebackers. I don't think they're going to have that same degree of success. If they want to win, they want to get their run game rolling, they're going to need to attack space.
Yes.
That is going to be the path to success.
Or do what Sark has been doing, and that is attacking the edge with your wide receivers. And again, just complete ass whipping. Joe, the highest score game in playoff history. Let's move on to that one. Miami goes into College Station, is able to come out with a victory. Joe, a outright defensive slugfest and a special teams, a monumental day for special teams, just not in a good way. But Miami goes into College Station and beats the Aggies 10-3. As you recap this game, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my biggest thing with this, and I mentioned this yesterday, but I want to really emphasize it. Blake, I was a really big advocate for Miami in September. I actually firmly believe I was the biggest advocate for anyone wants to go back to September and listen to me talking about how I thought that they could go to a national championship. And the reason why I kept saying that is because they were doing everything right that a national championship contending team needs to do. You've got big play splash receivers when you need to call upon them. Malachi Toney was the leader of the group. You had a physical running back room that could impose its will. You had a big-bodied offensive line that could really inflict punishment. You had a defensive line that was getting after opposing quarterbacks and stopping the run. You had fast and physical linebackers, and you had a secondary that was playing fundamentally sound. You were doing everything right at every single position group. They got away from that in October, and that was why I cooled on them. I bailed on them. I didn't want to put any faith into Mario Cristobal because I was upset over the regression. Like, they got back to what they were doing at the beginning of the season. It wasn't perfectly clean. They did have issues. Beck turning the ball over
Beck
in the spot that did he strip sack?
They didn't turn the ball over.
Am I crazy?
Oh yeah, they did it. But no, the one turnover that they had was Malachi Toney's.
I'm misremembering. They did have some turnovers in this game. The other issue that they had was the big play that they gave up to Mario Craver. But I feel like that those mistakes are so small in the grand scheme of the
you're
full
talking about
performance of the
Marcel Reed. You said
No,
Carson.
I'm pretty sure Carson. I'm gonna check in a second.
They recovered it. Yeah, they recovered it. He did fumble.
Okay. I was gonna say he did get stripped at one point, but it was they only allowed 2 sacks in this game.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they allowed 2 sacks in this game, and it was against a really good pass rush. They got back to a lot of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the year. When they needed to the most, that final drive, I think, really summed everything up. They just ran the shit out of the ball, and they ran through that really, really weak run defense that Texas A&M had. They really, really tested what their mettle was. They wanted to say, are you ready to go to war with us? We're going to go to war with you. That was where I bought back in. That was where I completely bought back in. That was the intensity that I was looking for from this Miami squad. I'm also, just to reiterate, I'm incredibly impressed by how they were able to completely keep everything in front of them. They didn't blow their assignments except for the one Craver play. They did not allow anything. That was the biggest key because that forced Marcel Reed to overthink, hold the ball, and it created a lot of the sacks that were all in all the 7 that were produced by that great front. Mesidor and Bain played their asses off. Reuben Bain had an unreal performance. If they can do that, an upset is possible against Ohio State.
I challenge Reuben Bain to your point. And you remember my point last week. Hey, man, you're a top 5 pick. Wait. Reuben Bain, you're a top 5 pick. You better go out there against the best team that you've played all year. I'm not getting into semantics game. You could say Notre Dame. Regardless of that, the best team that you've played all year, you better go out there and prove it. Boy, 4.5 tackles for a loss and 3 sacks. Yeah. You want to know why Miami needed to be in? Reuben Bain in the locker room at the end of the game says, hey, 60, you suck. And I know a lot of people are pushing back on that.
No, that's awesome. I thought that shit was awesome. If anyone thinks that that's a red flag or bad, like that's a bad mentality, shut the fuck up. That's not how football works. Those dudes are fighting with each other for 4 quarters. I love that shit. That shit got me fired up, Blake.
And adrenaline's flowing.
Yes.
Adrenaline's flowing. But here's the key of recapping the games. The big name players for Miami were the ones that made the plays when A&M's big-time players did not.
Yes.
They just didn't. Malachi Toney has the fumble that could have ended the game for them, and it doesn't end it. It doesn't. He's the one that scores the touchdown at the end. Reuben Bain, who I challenged on the show, hey, man, you're a top 5 pick, go and prove it, and he has 3 sacks. So I say all that to say this. A&M still controlled the game. 34 minutes of time of possession. 34 minutes. Joe, they had more first downs. They had more total yards. They had more overall snaps. They had everything. Statistically, this is an anomaly until you go to turnovers. I got it. It's a double-edged sword on the take of Marcel Reed has been doing this the last month and a half ever since the LSU game. I thought Blake Baker, and I'm going to say it now, Blake Baker and company exposed him in that first half with A&M and LSU because he had 3 total turnovers. He had 2 picks. And what has happened since the LSU game? What's happened? He's thrown 6 more picks. He's got 11 total turnovers, and he had all 3 of the turnovers for A&M in this game. The biggest game in Texas A&M's history, and you lay an egg. And listen, I don't want to put it all on him, but defensively, what do you want me to say? What do you say to A&M defensively? Oh, well, you gave up a long run. And they gave up 10 points. Joe, if I would have told you last week that A&M's only going to give up 10 points, you would say, oh, Blake, they're going to blow them out. They're going to blow them out. This came down to Colin Klein, Marcel Reed, and the playmakers on A&M, who we thought would step up, didn't, because you had more first downs, you had more total yards, you had more time of possession, you had control of the game. But here was the overall thing. When you can't convert in critical moments, like you didn't do on third down, you were 8 of 18, and multiple times on fourth down, you failed. That is good. Turnovers and third downs are going to kill you. And Miami was able to hang on. They made Marcel Reed throw the ball into tight situations, and it got picked. But that defensive line, and I will say this, A&M just could not run the ball, and they made Marcel Reed in this game come down to his arm. They couldn't run the ball. Think of this, Joe. The running backs for A&M had 18 total carries. Now, I know some of them were beat up. They had 50 yards. So we were talking about this, and you talked about this a lot in the preview. You think I don't listen to you, but I do. In the preview, you talked about, Blake, this is simple. This comes down to a line of scrimmage. Well, what line of scrimmage won? Miami's. At the end of the day, they ran for more yards, and at the end of the day, they sacked Marcel Reed and flushed him more. And when it came down to it, that was the final thing. And Reuben Bain said, hey, Blake, shut your godforsaken mouth. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. I'm going to go out there. And, Joe, he almost had a season total of sacks. He comes in here with 4.5. He has 3 on the day and completely obliterates both tackles for A&M.
I want to give a direct shout out to one specific player on Miami's defense that I don't think I haven't heard anyone talk about him. David Blay had an unreal game. Dude, I was watching him, and I was watching the game, and I kept looking like, man, 11's getting penetration on every single snap. He was driving A&M's interior guys off the ball every single time he was on the field. I'm intrigued to break down his tape as a draft prospect. He's not a guy who really has many stats this year, but he's a gigantic body. It's a really good run defender. He is one of the most unheralded players on that defense in my eyes, because
he's the reason that Reuben Bain got 2 of those sacks, because he's making Marcel Reed retreat, and then there's Bain.
Yeah, exactly my point. On running plays, he was completely collapsing in all the rushing lanes, and then he was collapsing the pocket that was forcing Marcel Reed to panic, that was then setting up, a lot of these pressures, these sacks that happen. I think that this interior group deserves more recognition. And this all comes down to where I'm going to just keep repeating myself. Ohio State is more on an upset watch than people realize. This game is not going to be just a boat race. Ohio State runs past them. I don't think that's going to be the case whatsoever. This Miami defense is more physically talented than the Indiana one. I don't care if anyone disagrees with that. They've got better athletes. They got more dudes. There's no edge that I can think about that Indiana has an edge over them, except they're maybe a little more fundamentally sound consistently than the Miami secondary, and that's a small margin.
I know Casey Concepcion didn't do it, but Craver did. But I do worry about them, like Becker and Surratt, like getting vertical on them. I still think that that's an issue, because, hey, man, here's the truth. Colin Klein, I love you. You're great. You're a great coach. Why did you stop going and throwing the ball to Mario Craver when they had no answer for him? Why? They had zero answer. So you talk about Miami, and we'll preview this tomorrow morning. By the way, service announcement. Show will be live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
Yes.
I still need to see, like, after what Becker did to Ohio State, after what Surratt has been doing the last 2 seasons, I'm going to pause on that one for my own thought. But you're right, up front, they're more gifted. They definitely are more gifted. And I mean, Joe, they didn't score a touchdown. One of the top 5 scoring offenses in the country did not score a touchdown.
This is my point. This is my point how impressive this was.
It was very impressive. And listen, you can even consider the field goal that Reuben Bain blocked, or whoever. I'm pretty sure it was Reuben Bain that blocked it. But, Joe, they had 4 total turnovers. I mean, it's more than just a domination. When you look at dominating an opponent, that's what you call dominating an opponent. I mean, so what? You gave a long throw to Craver, who's a really good receiver. They got down in the red zone. But when it came down to crunch time, Marcel Reed threw 2 picks. When it came down to actually scoring, He fumbles the football. So, look, I feel like I'm putting all of this on Marcel Reed. But you can't turn the ball over 3 times and think that you're going to win. But he didn't get a lot of help, and he hadn't gotten a lot of help the last 2 weeks. The 2 most physical defensive lines they faced, Texas and Miami, they got obliterated. I mean, everybody besides Chase Besantis. And why were they running away from Chase Besantis? The longest run that you had on the day was for 14 yards with one of your running backs, Joe, that came was just a 33 zone. Basic 3 B gap zone. Like, why did you stop going? That's the whole thing that blows my mind. To talk about A&M for just a quick second, that because we focus so much on Miami. The last 2 games that they've had, Mike Elko and company have really reverted. It's not been pretty. It's not been pretty. They have done everything that they have not been able to do. Like, meaning you all season long, if Craver was hot, you kept going to Craver. If Casey Concepcion was hot, you kept going to him. And then even when you wouldn't run the ball throughout the season against top 15 run defenses, LSU, you kept running the ball even though you were getting only 2 yards. I'm not saying Colin Klein had his mind like in other places, but my God, dude. I mean, it was a really bad – Joe, they hit 4 drag routes. 4 of his completions are on drag routes. Ask me how many drag routes that I remember seeing.
How many?
4. He hit 1 to Craver and 3 to Casey Concepcion. They didn't have an answer.
Here's my one. This is more of a broad takeaway. I wonder what we should expect from all of the teams that have coordinator departures that are taking head coaching jobs. I'm curious to see.
Put up 51.
Well, but they got awfully sloppy in the second half, and that was something which I was surprised by. Or I was reading the comments. One of the few times I read the comments because I thought I was off base. Oregon fans were like, "I agree with both of you guys," which was a shocking thing. When you and I disagreed, I've never seen somebody say both of you guys are right, which was funny. But there also wasn't a real test. How does Will Stein and the Oregon DC's name is escaping me? But okay, so he both coordinators leaving Oregon. You have Colin Klein and Jay Bateman leaving Texas A&M. You have Brian Hartline leaving Ohio State. I don't think any other school that I can think of that's in the playoff field at the current moment is losing.
James Madison.
Well, that's a separate issue, is it not? But this is my point, though. I think that the coordinators, it's like worth noting. Tosh Lapoy, that's what it was. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to just like stupidly just blurt that out. I think that it's something that we need to consider, that you've got not head coaches, you got coordinators that are leaving for head coaching jobs. How does that affect the ability to prepare? Because you've got a head coach who's expecting that they're going to get the same level of preparation, and clearly they've been spending their time elsewhere.
I mean, you say that, and I felt like Ty Simpson got better when Nick Sheridan was distracted. By the way, Nick Sheridan.
He's not a play call, but Nick Sheridan's not a play caller. It's Ryan Grubb.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, 4 turnovers. I'm going to say this, and I know I built up a lot of equity at A&M. It's the most A&M thing of all time. It's the most A&M thing of all time.
Yeah.
It really is. The best season that you have, and then when it all mattered.
Home game. Couldn't get it done. It's bad.
I thought that offensive line would step up bigger than what it did, but it didn't. All right, let's move on here. Joe, Ole Miss and Tulane. I know we talked about this before, but an outright splattering. I said this, so I have to explain it because I talked about it last night and posted this. I learned Lane Kiffin was worth 4 points. If you don't get that joke, if it's so over your head, it shows how much of a casual you are. That's how I'm going to start this segment off. But it's a joke to say Lane Kiffin is worth 4 points to any given team. However, the same exact result, the only thing that I learned is that when are people going to stop second-guessing Trinidad Chambliss? I feel like people just like I feel like Trinidad Chambliss is the most underrated player in America. What did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? If he's doing the same thing to Georgia, what do you think he was going to do to Tulane the second time? So, I mean, I go back and rewatch this game and say, listen, it's the same exact game as the one before, and Trinidad Chambliss went completely off.
Hey, I got to be honest with you here. This and the JMU second recap might not be very long and as in depth as the other two because, like, I rewatched this game and nothing changed for me. And the first time I watched this, no expectation, no takeaway was created. It felt like I was watching a September game that was a blowout. It just felt like we're gonna get some
literally had
backups.
Deja vu. It was deja vu because it literally happened the same exact way.
Yeah, I mean, I legitimately, like I'm saying this to you, I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from this. Here's one thing I can take away from this.
They're beat up. They're a little beat up.
A little beat up, and they gave up 6 explosive plays to this Tulane team, 2 explosive plays against the run. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when we were watching the game, there were instances where they started to produce some plays on the ground. Now, I'm not implying that they got their asses kicked up front and they gave up big plays, but Blake, we've talked about this. Ole Miss's run defense is not good. It's one of the worst in the country. In terms of EPA per rush allowed, they are one of the worst in the country. They give up a ton of big plays. We watched the last time that they played Georgia, they got worked. Georgia had a ton of success picking up plays on the ground. And I feel like I got glimpses of that again against a Tulane team that didn't have the bodies on their offensive line to get push. But they still found lanes. That to me is a lane integrity thing. That is a fundamental thing. You are not doing an effective enough job at the point of attack of stopping plays before they develop. Like, I really think that Georgia has a commanding capability to win a second time here. I don't think anyone should doubt that because at the end of the day, Georgia's offense has thrived against teams that can't stop the run. And when they've gotten their head of steam rolling and they're just chugging forward, everything flows in the right direction. I think that now that Georgia has a pass rush, I think that it's going to be a much harder game for Trinidad Chambliss.
It may be a harder game, and I think it is. I mean, and listen, here's where I'm going to take it. Like you said, we've already recapped this game. What do we need to say about it? Here's what I really, again, I say this as a joke, but I really kind of mean it. I learned Lane Kiffin was worth 4 points. That's literally the only thing that I learned because his entire offensive staff that was on the field yesterday, they got flown back to Baton Rouge today, and Kevin Smith got on the plane with him. And Kevin Smith wasn't the only person on that plane because his wife was on the plane and his kids were on the plane, and they're all here. It was one thing when all of them got on the plane and went to LSU, but then they came back within a week. So now you're talking about a Georgia team that's hitting on all strides. And now you're talking about a situation where, and we can even, this is kind of more of a preview for the Georgia game anyway, in some instances. But now that entire staff's in Baton Rouge, they landed today. So what are we supposed to expecting? I mean, it kind of feels like a team that's starting and has a lot of momentum while our team's digressing. Now, they didn't digress on the field. I mean, they're still a little beat up. What is Kawan Lacey's status? I've just learned that I'm not going to doubt Trinidad Chambliss. I'm not. I refuse to do it. I listen, say what you were about a pro prospect. Is he coming back? I don't care. That kid can play. My eyes keep telling me that kid can play. I make jokes about the Lane Kiffin thing, but I really kind of mean it. Like, Joe, for the first time, we got to see a game where it's against the same opponent, and things looked differently. One was in early September, and now you're at the end of the season here, wrapping up the end of the season here. It really is kind of what I learned. I thought Charlie Weiss, for what it's worth, I'll say this. Charlie Weiss, for what it's worth, and I thought Pete Golden summed this up perfectly in his press conference. I wasn't worried about Charlie Weiss. You know why I wasn't? Because he keeps hearing that it's everything that he does is because of Lane Kiffin. Well, he just called an offense. He just called it. So remember when Lane kind of gave away play calling to this kid named Charlie Weiss Jr.? And everybody's like, well, he's really doesn't really look like he's calling the plays. He's just giving suggestions. Well, Charlie Weiss Jr. went out there and did damn near the same thing Lane did. That's what I take from it. And I think that I think yesterday's game for me is like Charlie Weiss Jr. is an up and comer. That's how I take it. I mean, I hate to poo-poo on Tulane. Joe, we were midway through the second quarter, and John Summerall had his mouthpiece all the way up and was standing on the sidelines doing this. I kind of felt like he didn't care either. Just being blunt with you. I mean, it didn't really look like he cared. He ran around a couple of times thinking they could win. He sat there like this. And Will Hall, the new head coach of Tulane, is the one's walking up and down the sidelines. And I'm like, dude, what am I learning? I'm learning nothing.
I do think you bring up a good point about Charlie Weiss Jr. Back when Notre Dame was having an offensive coordinator search, before they pulled Denbrock away, I was saying I wanted Charlie Weiss Jr.
You were very vocal.
He was the guy that I liked. And I think that right now we are starting to see that he is an up-and-comer. He's on the younger side. Very smart decision maker. I think that if he ended up being someone who's a head coach someday, it wouldn't really shock me because the impact that he has. You do bring up a good point that not much changed for me offensively, but there was some shakiness. There was a little bit of rust. They didn't fully knock it off in this game, despite having an opportunity to do so. It doesn't matter because they're playing a shit Tulane team that, you could play 70% capacity and still win it.
Well, definitely in the run game, which is where I think Lane's situation is the biggest. The run game.
Yeah. I still stand by. I think that the biggest thing for me, I was just affirmed. There were instances on film and rewatching this where they gave up big plays on the ground. We already knew that they were bad at stopping opponents that gained momentum through running the football. And I think that they're going to be in for a tough matchup on New Year's Day when they face Georgia.
I agree. Oregon and James Madison. Before we kind of preview a couple of these little games here, kind of a prequel to our preview. Joe, I go back and watched Oregon and JMU, and I know that we talked about this, and you thought, they played sluggish in the second half. Why am I just so much like, okay, you're right, they didn't finish. And I'm normally not that one. Normally that's you, like, Blake, shut up. They put in second string guys, be quiet. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, their entire defense was out. They had 3 and outs in the third quarter. Their defense comes out and they give up 21 points, essentially. And I'm like, oh, my God, what are we doing? Are we going to – oh, man, Oregon can't do that to Texas Tech. Is that what we're going to do here? Is that what we're going to do? Because I just saw a team that scored on 7 straight possessions. I mean, like, what are we doing? 7 straight. I know it's what they're supposed to do. How many teams are supposed to do something and don't? Like, hey, A&M was actually supposed to score a touchdown this weekend, and they didn't do it. You're supposed to do something. No one ever gets credit for when they're supposed to do something and just do it. And this is college football. I go back and watch Oregon and JMU today, and I'm just sitting there, Joe, and I'm like, my son Ben sitting right next to me. Okay, quick story time. My son Ben standing right next to me. He goes, why do you keep going, And I'm like, well, because, Ben, it's like they're dominating him. And he goes, well, Is JMU getting penetration? My 6-year-old, are they getting
He
penetration?
didn't say that. Stop it.
Are they doing some good stuff on zone reads? Are they doing some good stuff getting vertical?
Ridiculous.
I'm like, see, that's how I know that my son Ben is going to love football. He already knows the key principles. And I'm saying to myself,
I don't believe you.
Oh my, because it's not true. Oh my God. But he was sitting next to me. The truth of it is why you keep doing that. And I'm just like, buddy, because this is a really bad game for JMU. And that's the part that I'm just trying to make here. It's like, oh my God, 7 straight? Like they're done. Joe, there was a point. I texted you or sent you this tweet. You know that there was a point in time that Oregon, right, going into halftime, was averaging 19 yards per play. And I'm just like, okay, again, I get it. You didn't finish. But at the same time, if I'm talking about belt to ass, that is what I call belt to ass.
It was, and it's kind of crazy to look at the play where Dante Moore was hit and the ball flutters out of his hand and it just didn't have the right velocity to reach who he was targeting. I forget which receiver it was. If that ball doesn't get returned, the game likely ends up being
that would be 8.
Was 63 to 13.
That would have been 8.
Yeah, it would have been the dagger, but the problem was it set up JMU to score a touchdown, and after that, Oregon put their backups in. That was where I had a problem. I don't care who's on the field. I think that you need to emphasize intensity. You never know when you got to call upon backups to step into games. Oregon's supposed to be a team that we talk about having really good depth. And I stand by this thought that was disappointing. It was bad. Dan Lanning looked pissed off, and I think he should have been. You should be pissed off when your team does not finish. Against a team that you should have beaten by 90. 90. And they capably could have done that with ease, and they allowed them to get back into it. Here's the one thing. 13 explosive plays were produced by JMU. It's not the fact that JMU got back into it. It's not just that. It's also the layer of how they got back into it. It was so many blown coverages. It was so many broken tackles. It was so many missed assignments. Guys taking bad pursuit angles. Stupid little shit that is supposed to be handled with good coaching and intensity. So I'm in agreement with you here, man. Oregon's a really good team. And I think that Evan Stewart and DeCorian Moore, that's the most important positive takeaway from this, is that they warmed up. They were suited up and they warmed up for the game. And DeCorian Moore caught one pass for 5 yards. I'm being dead serious here. That is the biggest positive from this, is that those guys, because everything else was expected. You were expected to hit Malik Benson over the top when he was wide open. You were expected to get long rushing touchdowns with complete ease. You were expected to block punts. But to know that you've got your 2 most important players on offense coming back into the mix for this upcoming game against Texas Tech, it's a wild card. It's a potential unexpected wild card to trip up Texas Tech.
Today, with Christmas right around the corner, let's just say that I heard that Santa Claus put together a lot of stuff today. Stay with me. And did his responsibilities. When I come home and the trash is full, my wife shouldn't have to say anything to me about taking out the trash. She shouldn't say anything about putting my clothes away or washing the dishes. She shouldn't have to say anything to me. But it's still nice sometimes that when you do the things that you're supposed to, just because they're normal, doesn't mean that people aren't supposed to get praised about the small little things that they do.
This isn't chores. This is football. This is football.
I thought but Joe, they scored on 7 straight.
I get that. I know I'm nitpicking here. I just to only have won by 17 with the control that you had in this game is just generally disappointing. Here's you want to know the real way. Here's the reality of this. I fully wish that you and I could sit here with the actual ammo that we wanted, that we were going to get through 3 quarters.
I had my ammo.
But we would have had such legitimate firepower to be like, this is done, this is over with, and the committee would have firepower if they had won 63-13. But instead, they let them get back into it, and there's people crawling out of their holes saying, we got back into it. They showed fight. You guys said that they weren't going to fight and they weren't going to be able to play, ignoring all the context.
So there's the real problem. You're mad
part of it.
Okay, so it hasn't. We're not. So it's
not all of it. I think that I still stand by what I'm saying.
Okay,
no,
I see.
Totally. It's partially.
All right. Well, that was an ass whipping. I don't care what they whipped that candy ass, boy. Golly. All right. Joe, we'll preview all these games tomorrow, but just to kind of give a little bit of an appetizer here before we get into that tomorrow morning. Texas Tech takes on Oregon, number 4 versus number 5 in the Orange Bowl. Number 1, Indiana takes on number 9, Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Georgia takes on number 6, Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. And Ohio State takes on number 10, Miami in the Cotton Bowl. You know what the one thing I thought about today about all of these playoff games in the quarter rounds? You know, last year we had Boise State and Arizona State in the quarters. This year we actually got some good quarter games. And you know what prompted that? No AQ model. The AQ model going away for top seeds. So I wonder what would happen if you took away all the AQs. That's just my thought. But of some of these matchups, what are you intrigued by?
For anyone who's curious, over at FanDuel, Ohio State still maintains the best odds to win the national championship at plus 180, Indiana plus 310, and Georgia at plus 500. Those odds are changing for Georgia. That was a much bigger number last week. Blake, here are my 2 biggest takeaways looking ahead.
Crazy. We didn't even play.
I know. Well, I think that some of that.
What does Tulane losing on their side of the bracket have anything to do with why their odds went up?
Well, I think that people were paying attention to, and this was one of my takeaways, people that were paying attention to how Ole Miss's defense looked in certain situations. I think it was reaffirmed that, hey, that run defense isn't good. Like, I really stand by. I think that Georgia is the team that is going to go on a run. I think that they're the team that is going to go on to win a national championship. They were the hottest team in college football, and now they get an opportunity to really, really puff their chest up against a team that they already beat, and they know what their biggest weakness is. I stand by and support Georgia. The other takeaway that I have coming into the second round, and Ohio State fans, I know that Dick Buck and Elks were getting a little mad at me in the Discord. I didn't get to respond to some of their messages today because today was nuts, but Miami, I really think if there is a team that produces the unexpected upset, I think that Miami has the best shot of doing it. We witnessed in the Big Ten championship game an Indiana defense that pressured and sacked Julian Sain. Julian Sain is a tremendous young man. He has played at a very high level. He's been a very accurate quarterback. He's delivered and set up his guys consistently, but he has not faced a pass rush like this. He's not faced a defensive line like this. That rushing offense has had issues, and they couldn't run the ball against Indiana. If you can't, this is the most important thing, and this is less of me saying you're going to get upset by Miami, and more so, if you don't do this specific thing, you will end up being disappointed with the result of this game. Like, if Ohio State does not run the ball with intensity and establish their run game early, unlike they did in the Big Ten championship game, it is going to keep this game in striking distance for Miami, just like they did against Texas A&M. If Bo Jackson can't get going, it is going to create serious problems for Ohio State. Like, that was affirmed to me. We talked about David Blake. We talked about Mesdor. We talked about Reuben Bain. I feel like that is something that more people need to recognize.
That is going to be an interesting battle because you're coming off a game where you face off against a good front seven and you couldn't run the ball. Can Julian Sain grow up in a month? How much did that Indiana game mean to him from an experience standpoint? It's going to be a overall great question. Why does Indiana and Alabama intrigue the shit out of me?
In what way?
I think we got a dogfight. I think everybody's going to look at this and say, Indiana's going to go in here and wax that Alabama ass. And I keep saying to myself, yes, they beat Penn State. Yes, they beat Ohio State. You just see what that Alabama defense, who might got LT Overton back in 2 weeks, what they just pulled off in 3.5 quarters. Yes, they got punched in the mouth. Their offense was not helping them at all. And they were getting short field after short field after short field after short field and punched in the mouth. All of a sudden, they've been dominating. I'm really, really, really intrigued by this Indiana and Alabama game. I think Alabama has a massive weakness in this game, though, and I'm talking about colossal, and it's not the running game. I think the Jackson kid has been getting lost in space on the boundary. Dijon Lee, freshman, not so fast, my friend. I do believe that this zone coverage, if you're able to get it from Fernando Mendoza, I think this is interesting. I think it's highly intriguing. Everybody wants to look past Bama. Okay, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not picking them to win. I didn't say I'm picking them to win. All I'm saying is it's intriguing.
Okay. Look, I don't disagree with you. I think that Alabama showed, if they do get LT Overton back, and if Keon Keeley can provide the same impact that he did against Oklahoma, yeah, they can get after Fernando Mendoza. I have said this before, though. I think Mendoza, for a guy that's not a dual threat guy, he's got some of the best pocket presence. He's one of the best guys at avoiding pressure and then getting away and throwing the ball away. There's been a lot of intentional grounding, by the way, in college football this year. It's been like an uptick. I'd love to know if there's an actual percentage increase. He is the best at avoiding that. He has some of the best awareness of understanding of how to just get the ball out, save the play, save the series, save the down. I think that what still provides Indiana the advantage is that front for Indiana is not going to allow Alabama to run the ball. And I think that the Indiana secondary is going to have an easier time keeping Alabama's receivers in front of them. Not shutting them down, but keeping them in front of them.
That's what's the most intriguing to me, because they run more zone coverage than anybody in the country. And what has been giving Ty Simpson the biggest troubles? It's when they're sending
zone
them
and pressure.
Well, I was going to say man and pressure. I mean, Joe, teams are manning up and just saying, we're going to pressure you. LSU, Oklahoma, which Oklahoma wound up getting beat in it. Georgia, name them. The teams the last half of the month went man and just ran quarters, which is zone, but ran man to quarters and basically just said, yeah, we're going to go right after you because you can't run the ball. They better send some heat. You can't let Ty Simpson sit back there and make decisions. That's where he's as most comfortable. Don't do it. I mean, that's dude, we didn't talk about this with Venables. I defended Venables in the breakdown. I can't believe I forgot about this. Why did he stop sending heat after Ty Simpson?
I don't know. It's a good question. They did it successfully at the beginning of the game.
God.
Like, I just think if Alabama can get the run game going like we've continually seen, I think that's going to –
it's going to kill them.
It's going to blow up in their face. I want to add in here, we didn't talk about, before we get out of here, we didn't talk about Oregon versus Texas Tech. I'm not going to repeat what I said about the JMU game, but the biggest matchup, and I'm going to bring this up tomorrow, the biggest matchup that I'm paying attention to is David Bailey versus Isaiah World. I got to see Isaiah World prepare and be able to slow down David Bailey. No one has been able to do that. Now, David Bailey's been going up against – David Bailey's a really good player. He's going to get drafted higher than Isaiah World. Isaiah World might be the best tackle that he's faced all year long. Mm-hmm. How does that game look? And can Isaiah World take on the challenge? World's had a little bit of a shaky year. Everybody was thinking that he was going to turn into a top 10 pick and kind of stagnated, didn't really make the leap that we were expecting to. He's got to play a really good game. That whole old line's got to play a really good game because Dante Moore needs time in order for them to be able to produce. That's also coupled with if Evan Stewart and Decoria Moore come back.
What is the best thing Oregon does offensively?
Well, they run the ball really well.
Stop. Pause. I'm testing Texas Tech early.
Well, they've stepped up against teams that run the ball well.
Like who?
BYU. BYU that was the one thing that they did incredibly well. Okay.
That ain't the same. That ain't the same. No, that ain't the same. That ain't the same. You know it's not
the same, but they still have a good rushing offense. LJ Martin's a really good running back.
Yeah, he's fine.
No, don't say he's fine. He's a really good running back.
Do you remember the WrestleMania 2002 when Triple H hit the pedigree on Shawn Michaels?
I was 4 years old.
Okay. That's what I want them to do. I want to test them early. I want to test their level of physicality early. Okay. You got all these dudes from the portal. Let's go test it. And Joe, they very well may do it, buddy. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't, but I'm going to go test it. I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go find out today. You ain't faced a physical you have not seen the level of physicality that you're about to see all year with Oregon.
All right. We're going to find out what you're saying.
Okay. Couple of super chats here. Jeff with a $2 super chat says, do you think we have any chance against Ohio State? I'm assuming he means Miami. I mean,
yeah,
you guys
we it out. Yeah, and I think that you agree with me, but I'm a little more bullish.
You're a lot more bullish.
I don't think I'm not saying that there's an upset guarantee here, but I don't want to hear. I'm shocked that this is an 11-point line on FanDuel, by the way. I think it should be closer. I don't think that Ohio State is a completely unbeatable team. Here's the one thing that we need to see how it plays out. Can Ohio State's D-line, that pass rush that's been really freaking good, can they be the team that finally breaks through? That, to me, I think is going to be really key here.
All right. I didn't want to say this in the Miami segment because when you win a playoff game, I'm not going to poo-poo on you.
Okay.
Their offense scored 10 points
against a really good defense.
Yeah.
They also wait.
Ohio State's got a better defense than that.
How many points did Ohio State score in the Big Ten championship game?
10. So you think Indiana? Okay.
I'm just saying, dude. It goes both ways. Indiana's a good team, but they're not like
you're moving the goalpost a bit on me.
How am I moving the goalposts?
Indiana's the number one team in the country.
But Indiana, I've watched these teams. Indiana is not light years ahead, just like talent-wise. They're a more consistent team, absolutely.
Oh no, I agree with that, but I'm just saying. Indiana feels like a early year Brian Kelly team. Early tenure Brian Kelly.
What does that mean? Oh, you think that they're going to get their asses kicked by Alabama? Is that what you're playing? Stop it. Get out of here. Get out of here with that shit.
Early tenure Brian Kelly spread. We'll run the ball on you.
No. I hate that take. I absolutely hate that
early
take.
Brian Kelly team. Early years
I hate that
Brian
take.
Kelly team.
I hate that take.
No, you'll find out. Marshall with a $10 super chat says Elko needs a portal quarterback. Reed just is not the answer. You can teach decision making with time, but his accuracy is awful, and I don't see him get that part getting fixed. I think it get fixed.
Yeah, accuracy is more trainable and easily trainable than decision making because like some guys just don't have the natural like quick trigger thinking. Like that's something that plagues guys. You see guys with tools that just don't have feel.
I don't mind him pulling with the trigger. That's not the point. Yeah. I need him his footwork to get better.
Yeah. I don't mind the idea of portaling a kid that's like talented but not going to start. I think
everybody's going to be looking for Trinidad Chambliss now. You watch.
I would go get Ashton Daniels. I would try to bring. I know he wants to probably play, but like I would go get Ashton Daniels and just have him in the room. Have a good backup. in case.
I don't think you're the first person that's had that thought.
Okay.
You know, Kiffin's brought in multiple starters through the portal.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, God. Marshall also with a $5 super chat says, hey, dude, if people just remember these small little takes that we say, God dang. Because when, golly, A&M started looking like a different team the moment they played South Carolina right after Elko got extended. Probably not wrong.
Their regression's been weird. And I know you talked about it earlier. There's a lot of growth that this team has to have.
But no, it wasn't South Carolina. LSU just didn't have the offense. Blake Baker exposed the shit out of them. They got exposed.
Yes.
I mean, now that their season's over, I'll tell you exactly what. They literally had – I'll tell you the secret, at least from what I was told by a very, very close source to the situation. I'll leave it at that. They showed him one thing at the line of scrimmage and ran something different behind it. Every time. That was LSU's game plan in the first half.
It needs to be harder to disrupt them. I think it's the simplest way to put it.
They showed cover 3 and they were in man. Hold on. On the final play, they showed cover 3, switches, and they right when the ball's being snapped, run up into man, and then he gets picked. He makes the right read. The post on the cover, he makes the right read based off the decision that he made. I don't know if it's an accuracy situation. I mean, yes.
Well, he was errant all over the place.
Yeah, he is. However, at the same time, he would have made the right decision based off the pre-read snap. So he's just got learning he's got to do, bud.
Yeah. I mean, he's young. He's still a young guy.
Still a very young quarterback. I wouldn't move on from him. Don't move on. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see y'all there. Y'all have a good night. Peace.